Welcome, I'm the Deadwood Jedi. This is the Raid Shadow Legends video, guys. We just got a dupe system kind of in place for us. So they just released a reaction video talking about the dupe system that they have in mind for us. And so I figured what we could do is we'd watch it through, kind of pause it and talk a little bit about it as it goes out. It just came out. I have had a chance to watch it through once or twice just so I have an understanding of exactly what's going on, because it's a little bit of a confusing system that they seem to be introducing here. But overall, I just, like, first impression, I'm not upset with it. I don't think anything was going to make us all happy. And there's definitely some things I like less than others, but understanding all the things that were going to happen and just kind of knowing how the company works and where their mindset is at, I'm not really that disappointed with it, because I feel like it has a little bit for everybody. That always means that nobody's going to be perfectly happy, of course, but let's take a look at it and we can kind of talk about it. Okay, guys, let's go ahead and start, and we'll see where this goes.
Hey everyone, and welcome to our latest preview video. Today we're going to talk about the new systems for helping you get the most value from your duplicate champions. As duplicate champions is a multifaceted issue, we analyzed a variety of situations and identified a few key issues that different groups of players face. And because there were a few different situations and issues, we had to come up with a few different solutions. Something that applies more to newcomers looking to progress quickly, something that may be more useful for mid-game players looking to make the step up, and something that will be more beneficial to end-game players with pretty bloated champion collections. We wanted to make sure there was a solution that everyone could potentially benefit from, no matter where they are in-game. Alright, enough talk, let's get into it. You all know the sparring pit in your bastion, where champions bash each other on the head to gain experience. Well, it's getting an upgrade. The new Guardian Ring will still have all the functionality of the sparring pit inside, but it will also have a bunch of new mechanics, including
I think this is pretty cool.
Guardians, champion empowerment, and champion unbinding. You won't know what those are yet, but don't worry, I'll take you through them all.
So we're going to get 3 different ways to build this. I think that's good overall.
Faction Guardians. The Faction Guardians tab will let you assign duplicate champions of different rarities to become Faction Guardians. This means they'll boost the stats of all champions of the same rarity in that faction. When you first visit the tab, you'll see a list of all factions. Tapping on any of the banners will bring up a new tab with the duplicate slots available. Each slot gives a stat bonus to all champions of that faction and of that specific rarity. It's a bit similar to Great Hall bonuses, but faction-specific instead of affinity-specific. Slots are unlocked in order, so after you get your bonus to HP, you'll unlock the slots that can get you bonus stack, which will unlock the slots for defense, and so on. For example, let's say we have 2 Raglins. You'll be able to put them both into the first legendary Bannerlord slot and unlock a 10% HP boost for all legendary Bannerlords you own, including your Raglins, both of which you can still use. If you also had a pair of Barons, you can put them in the second slot that was just unlocked to get an attack boost, and so on. As I mentioned, champions you make into Faction Guardians can still be used in battles. As long as you don't get rid of either champions, you'll get the bonus. And Faction Guardians aren't only available for legendaries. Epic and rare champions can also become Faction Guardians.
This is good.
Since you don't lose your champions when you assign them to be Guardians, you can still use them. For new players, this means you can boost the stats of your rare and epic champions and bring them more in line with the strength of standard legendary champions that you're having to fight against. If you don't have many legendaries yet, this can be a big help in closing the gap and winning some harder fights in the arena or the dungeons. For mid-game players, this flexibility.
So I'm just going to stop that right there. I think this is overall really good, right? We get to use our dupes to improve our champions, our factions, actually, which is kind of a neat concept. Obviously, having rares, having epics can do that too. I mean, obviously, the more champions you have, the more you're going to benefit from this. And that was going to be the case no matter what dupe system there was. If you have dupes, you're going to benefit from whatever it is they're offering, as opposed to not having dupes. And that obviously is going to benefit people who have more champions. So there's no way this was going to exist and not further separate the distance between the haves and the have-nots. That's just the nature of it, right? But this is at least a fun and interesting, and I think a little bit innovative way of using those dupe champions. She does say that the rares are going to close that gap with the legendaries, and the same thing with the epics, but honestly, I don't see that very much because, you know, if it's going to close the gaps. Having dupe epics and dupe rares will close the gaps between the legendaries of people that don't have dupes for them, but it's not really going to close the gap overall. Those people are still going to have their dupe epics and rares as well. So I don't really see this changing that power balance or making it more making more parity. If they made it so like there were no legendary dupes for this part, then I could see that really closing that gap between newer players and later players. But even then, it's the end game players that are going to have multiple dupes of every faction of every epic and get even bigger bonuses. So I'm not really sure that that is going to be the case, but I do like this system. I think it's kind of a neat way to improve things. There are a lot of different things in there too, right? There's accuracy. Actually, you can probably scroll back just a little bit. You can see there were a bunch of different bonuses there, right? You see there's HP, attack, but the good ones are at the end, right? Accuracy and resistance, that's can be really big. But most important, this last one, speed. That's massive. And having dupe speed, getting an extra 10 speed on the legendaries there, it's going to have a big impact in Arena. I'm really interested to see, you know, the long-term impact this has on the game. But, you know, one of the great things is you don't have to feed any of these champions to get this bonus. You get to keep the champions. So there's still going to be a place for, if you have dupes of champions that you like, to still get these benefits and still keep them in your account too. So that's not so bad. I like the fact that you don't have to feed them to get that little bonus there.
Players, this flexibility will help you conquer the arena or beat some of the raid's tougher challenges, like some of the trickier secret rooms in the Doom Tower.
That's true.
As your collection grows, you'll be able to benefit from some pretty sweet stat boosts if you manage to summon a couple of duplicate legendaries. For endgame players, this means you can have your cake and eat it too. You can get the stats boost from assigning some legendary faction guardians and keep your duplicate champion available in case you want to build a second of a certain champions with this different artifact setup for a completely different role. And for everyone, no matter where you are in the game, bonus stats mean that all of you can be a bit bolder when experimenting with artifact setups. Okay, let's move on to our second option, champion empowerment. The principle is pretty simple. You select a legendary champion and feed them their duplicates to permanently empower them and give them a stat boost. You can do this up to 4 times. But keep in mind that you'll permanently lose the champions you used to empower another, so think twice before you do it. Like we said, we limited it. So while they can get a nice boost, you can't make them into unbeatable monsters. We want to make sure it won't throw game balance off. We also realize there are a few champions you can't ever get duplicates of. Lydia the Death Siren, Gumlock Skyhide, Ura's Soul Cage, and a few others. So that these powerful champions aren't left out of this feature, we've assigned other champions from their faction to act as their surrogate duplicates as far as empowering is concerned. For example, you'll be able to use Vizix to empower Lydia. Anyway, the entire list will be available in the game once the Guardian Ring goes live.
Easily, this is the most concerning thing, the most anticipated choice that they were going to make, and also the one that freaked people out the most. I think it was pretty inevitable that they were going to end up using an empowerment system in this. I don't think there's really any doubt that that was what they were going to end up doing. I do like the fact that they limited it. It's only 4 champions. I say only, like having 4 copies of a legendary is so many. It's kind of ridiculous, to be honest. But if you I don't know. It's a lot. But I mean, there's people out there with like 6 Fushans or Duchesses or something like that. The part that I guess does concern me is really when it comes to like high-end arena, where people are just going to be feeding, and those champions are going to be really, really strong. Hopefully the bonus isn't so ridiculous that we can't deal with it, but we don't really know until they explain it further, and they don't go into those kinds of details in this video. So we're not going to really understand the full extent of those buffs and bonuses, only that they're getting something. If it's similar to what the, what we saw with the champion faction guardians, I guess you call them, it could be pretty significant, right? So my guess is it'd probably be something a little bit less than that, but I'm very curious to see exactly what gets buffed and by how much. I think that's going to have a pretty big impact on, how OP the system is. Regardless of how small the buff is, though, at least gives something for the very end game players who have a lot of 1 or 2 champions to get something out of them. And that is something that's needed. So, I mean, this is kind of a to be determined. It really depends how big of a boost that is. If it's like a 1% boost across all stats, that's not a big deal, right? If it's a 5% boost or per empowerment, or 10% boost, that's a lot. And so we'll just kind of have to see.
Finally, we have the champion unbinding feature that is also exclusive to legendary champions.
I have to say, I'm excited about this one. I think this is exactly what they should have done from the beginning. I feel like this was the solution that we all asked for. And so I'm really glad that they're going to be doing this.
In this tab, you'll be able to permanently release your legendary dupes to get a special resource called life tokens. You'll lose those dupes forever, but you get a life token for giving them their life back. There's nothing fancy about the process itself.
Clever.
You choose a champion, triple check them to make sure you don't need them, then release them for your service to get a life token. From there, you go to the Token Trader tab and behold several shiny legendary champions that you can get using life tokens. Different legendaries will have a different price based on their power, and you only get each of them from the Token Trader once. With this feature, you'll be able to get rid of unwanted duplicates and choose a champion you do want from the Token Trader list instead. We're going to be making a variety of champions available from the Token Trader, including some you might have missed out on from Champion Fusion events if you weren't lucky enough to be playing Raid back then. Folly, Molly Tankard, Fushan, Minaya, and a few others will all be available. Oh, and it's the holiday season soon, so the very special, very jolly Sir Nicholas will be coming to town as well.
Sweet.
That's about it for the video. Be sure.
So that's not so bad. Being able to exchange legendaries dupes to get legendaries that you don't have, that is something we've all wanted. I think that's the most number one thing that we've been wanting from this kind of a system. And so it's great that they're putting in some version of that. Now, there's some caveats, right? How quickly are those champions going to cycle through? Do those champions cycle through, or are they just the same 6 or 4 champions all the time? I would really hope that they have some variety in there to make it something worthwhile. Because if all my dupes are the champions that are in there, it's kind of pointless. So I wish it was more of a selective thing, like I could choose whichever one, or there's like 20 or 30 that I can choose from. So, and then something that changes like every month or every couple months, so I can really find the legendaries that I want from that system. That would be wonderful. And I would say the other thing overall, the good thing about this is that there is variety. So you can kind of choose how you want to use your champions in whatever way works for you. A lot of this is really going to depend on how powerful that empowerment bonus is. If it's really strong, that's going to be the way most people are going to go. Though, to be fair, the Faction Guardian route is really strong, it looks like. Those are pretty significant bonuses, 10% across the board. 10 speed especially is just ridiculously strong. And then it's also, but if you're getting an extra 5 or 10%, I mean, would I want to do a dupe if I had a second trend, would I want to do a dupe, or would I prefer to say, you know what? I want my Trunda to be that much stronger. These are the things that are really going to be to be determined. Basically, we got to know exactly what those percentages are to really see what's the best way to spend your resources. But those of you that have tons and tons of legendaries, you now have a way to get a champion that maybe you didn't have before. You have a way to improve your entire faction that you didn't have before. So there's definitely, I think, some really nice features in this actually that I'm not upset with. HP, attack, those are pretty simple. You have to have a whole lot to go all the way down and get the speed. I mean, that's what, 5 dupes of 5 different champions in the same faction. That's a very rare thing to have. So And then on top of that, you can't feed those champions. They have to stay on your account. So you can't use those champions then to empower somebody else. You have to keep them on your account in order to get that bonus. So it's an interesting system they got. 3 different things, a lot of variety there. Overall, I think this is a pretty good job they did. Obviously, the empowerment thing is going to be the big thing that matters. And I say it's a good job with the understanding that empowerment was going to happen. It was just going to happen. So as opposed to like debating, oh no, why they did that. It's the worst thing ever. It's like, oh, okay, look. These things happen. They have this crazy CVC thing. Of course, they were going to do empowerment, right? But, if the bonuses aren't too big, I think this is a fantastic solution. Really good because it gives options for people to use their dupes in a variety of different ways. And I think that's a really positive thing all in all. So, that's pretty good. There's a few seconds left of her saying thank you and whatnot. But guys, I definitely go check out this video. I'll have it linked down below in the comment and description of this video. And I think, for once, I think they did a pretty good job with this. I'm not, it's not 100% yet. Definitely got to see all the details to really understand, if this is a positive thing or if it's just another like so-so thing. But overall, I'm pretty happy with this. I think there's a lot to like about this idea and the system. Obviously, if you want to be at the top of Arena, you're going to have multiple dupes to get the top stats. Doesn't mean you can't compete, though. And I'm actually interested to see, how much that impacts that area of the game, because in reality, right now, that's the only area of the game that this kind of thing will impact. So I'm very interested to see. I so far, I have to say, I like it. You guys let me know down below. Am I wrong? Please, that's fine. Let me know. Don't be a jerk about it, but go ahead, leave a comment down below. Tell me if you think I'm wrong, if you think this is bad for the game, tell me if you agree with me, think it's probably a pretty good thing, or, to be fair, there's still a lot to be determined. That empowerment system is really going to determine how good this is overall. But so far from what I see, from what they shared with us, I have to say, thumbs up. And, like I say, guys, if you don't like something, you need to give them feedback. If you like something, you should give them feedback as well. I think that's only fair to let them know, tweet them, hit them up on Facebook, send them a Discord message. If this is something you're like, hey, you guys did a good job here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for giving us some options. Then let them know that. If you're like, hey, this is still not what I wanted, you can let them know that as well. I think it's always good to give that kind of feedback, as long as you're, respectful and polite about it. That's all we got for today. So, good luck out there. Save your dupes. Until next we meet, I'm the Deadwood Jedi.